Okay, welcome to the first Project Freedom question and answer session. Now, I want you to imagine that we are just sitting across from each other, sharing coffee, catching up. This is totally conversational. It is not leader and team. It is not boss and employee. We are teammates and we are learning together. I do not have all the answers. Rachel does not have all of the answers. We are just a little further along in our journey, and so we're going to share from our experiences to answer these questions. However, you too may have had this exact same question, this exact same scenario, and have a different experience than perhaps I have or Rachel has. So as we share throughout the evening and answer some of these questions that came in, I want you to feel free to jump in. This is a collaborative space, okay? I want you to share from your experience if you have dealt with the same situation or perhaps have another viewpoint to answer the same question. So we're going to keep this at 30 minutes. And we received several questions. I received several questions over the weekend, and Rachel and I have picked 4 to address tonight. And then I'm hopeful as we work through these monthly, we will eventually get to all of the questions. But since it's Sunday night and we need to be mindful of your time, we picked 4 to start with. And Rachel is going to kick us off with the first question. Rachel. Oh, wait, we can't hear you. It says you're not muted, though. Oh, you gotta love the internet and technology, right? Okay. Did that work? No, she's checking on it. Okay. You want me to move on to the next question and then you can come back in? Okay. So question number 2 is in my court, and the question submitted was, what is the best way to establish our business process so it's easily duplicatable? So how do we best document or establish a process for our business? Now, I want you to think about what are the basics of what we do, okay? Now, to truly answer this question, I feel like it's going to be different for every person because we all work differently. We have different personalities. Some of us are really, really organized. Others of us struggle in that area. So this is going to look different based on who you are and how you prefer to work. So I'm going to approach this question from a very general standpoint, but perhaps it will give you some ideas to work through to establish business processes for yourself. So I want you to think about what's the basics of what we do. What do? We share plexus. We connect with people. We look to meet a need financially or health-wise. We coach people along the way. We're encouragers. We're mentors. We're counselors. I mean, we wear many hats, right? But I want you to think about what you spend your time doing. If you sit down and say, okay, I'm doing my IPA today, well, specifically, what does that mean? Not 3-2-1 or 10-5-3. For it to be duplicatable to other people, you have to be able to break it down specifically so they understand what we do daily. Because words like silver and going gold and IPA and pay point, that verbiage, they do not understand in the beginning. So you have to break it down to what does IPA look like for you specifically. When you sit down, what do you do first? Do you do a positive affirmation? Do you read scripture? Do you watch a video? Do you get out your list of 64? So this is going to take some homework for you to really figure out your business process. So think about what you do. Now, we have different ways that we intake people. Okay, so we have a way that we intake an ambassador, and that can then be bridged because it depends on if they're a wholesaler or if they're going to be a business builder. So we have an intake process for an ambassador, and then we have a separate intake process for a customer. So you've got to figure out, how do you handle these two types of people? Because your wholesale customer or your wholesale ambassador, you're going to treat very much like your customer. So think about your intake process. When someone signs up just for wholesale, they're going to be a customer. Someone signs up as a preferred customer, what information are you going to provide them to get them off started well? When you sign someone up as a business builder, what is that going to look like for them for their first week? So think about the intake process and what you do. Something else that I want you to think about as you're thinking through your processes is, what has been most successful for you for launching a business builder? Because that's going to tell us what you did for them in the beginning potentially was done well or done right in order for them to launch quickly and successfully, instead of signing them up and they're excited and 3 weeks later they fall off the face of the planet. So think about, if you have launched someone successfully, did that look different? Did that process look different than intaking someone else? And then something else that will help you work through this, and this is lots of homework, think about what it would look like if you were the ambassador signing up. How would you accumulate the information? How would you prefer to accumulate the information? If you were doing business with yourself right now, would you feel well served? If you were doing business with yourself right now, would you feel that what you're providing is giving value to someone? It's elevating someone. I certainly have had situations where I have not served new customers and new ambassadors in the best way, because I'm busy, I have life, I have boys, we're homeschooling, or maybe I've had an influx of a bunch of customers all at one time, and they fall through the cracks, and I'm just reaching for information. I've sent this message, but I can't remember if I sent that one, and did I send? I mean, this just happened to me last week. I have a wholesale ambassador who's struggling with her products, and 3 days goes past, and I'm like, I didn't answer her message. We've been corresponding about how she's taking things, and maybe we need to slow down, and I was like, I've got to get back to her. It's life, it's normal. But you have to ask those hard questions and evaluate, if I was doing business with myself and the way I'm handling my customers and ambassadors, am I serving them well? Sometimes maybe, other times great, sometimes not so much. So think about, would you want to do business with yourself? And what does that mean for your process? Do you spew plexus vomit on people? If you were receiving your messages, how would that make you feel? So we'll kind of work through those questions as you evaluate the process that you have in place right now. And then I think the easiest way to come up with a duplicatable system, because we have a lot of options. We have new ambassador checklists. We have, diamond ambassadors that are saying, I've done it this way. We have corporate coming out with rank up roadmaps. Like, we're constantly receiving tools to run our business well. But the easiest thing that has worked for me is I have come up with, as a new customer, what would they need immediately? They need product information, how to get started and how to take it. Maybe I usually send like the top 3 to 5 things they could do to support their products, which is drinking their water, taking them consistently, maybe set an alarm so you don't forget a BioCleanse dosage. Come to me if you're having issues. I mean, how many times do we have customers who we have no idea they're struggling? So setting up that expectation really early. So giving them the top 5 things to support them on their journey, give them product information and who to contact to get help, whether you're putting them on a Facebook group page or a message thread, or they have your phone number and can text you if needed. So those are that's how I launch a customer. Instead of it being this really welcome email or this, here's your weight and measurement chart and let's you know, gets you going. It's just, it becomes this very handheld process. Emily Gibson just came out with her message. I don't know if y'all saw that the past couple of weeks, her message suggestions. Like week 1, you send this, week 2, you send this, week 3, you send that, week 4, you send this. Basically just check-in messages. How are you feeling? I'm using that for my customers. And then quickly, so we can move on to the next question, think about that for an ambassador. What do you need specifically? 5 things to launch a new ambassador. I don't know if y'all have looked through this success kit, but this is duplication at its finest. Every ambassador is getting the same information. You need to know this book. You need to be able to tell your ambassadors, turn to page 75. This is going to give you information on this. This is going to help you make your list. But think about, they need product info to get started and the top 5 things they need immediately to get their business launched. Instead of giving them all of this information and loading them up on 5 to 7 Facebook pages and just running quickly and intensely, it can be overwhelming. So take the headache away from yourself and simplify it, because that's what's going to be duplicatable to your ambassadors moving forward, where they can say, when I started, Colleen told me how to take the products. She told me the top 5 things I needed to know to be successful, and she made herself available. It's all they need to know, and that is simply duplicatable as they enroll people as well. So it's a lot of information really quickly, but hopefully that'll help you work through your own process. And this may be something we can expand on next month as you do some of that homework and kind of figure out what that looks like for you. So Rachel, is your sound working?
Think so. Can y'all hear me?
Okay. Question number 2.
Okay. Yeah, so we're going to go to question number 1. It's about branding, okay? So the question is, I feel burdened lately about my brand on social media, and if I don't post every day, my business will suffer. This might be a personal issue I have to break through, but I don't feel I have what it takes or life that isn't just like everyone else's who are doing well. Comparison and not living up to my expectation for my business. How can I keep this simple? So a little bit about branding. So I remember when I first started, there was a lot of us from college that kind of started around the same time. And a lot of people, they were just zooming up and getting promotion after promotion, and I wasn't. And so I was super, I'm a very competitive person, and I definitely compared myself to every other person. And so I was like, well, if they're going to rank up like that, then I'm going to start posting about, look at what they're posting and start posting close to the same. So I started posting a lot about the same things that they would. And back then we kind of just copy and pasted everything and didn't really make it our own. But it didn't do anything for me. And so Tamara and Catherine wanted to do a 3-way call with me, which, if you don't know, I was college friends with both of them, and I was like freaked out. I was like, okay, 3-way call was super intimidating to me, even though they were my friends. So I got on the call and we just chatted, and I was like, I'm super frustrated. I am not ranking up like anybody else. I'm working super hard. And they said, well, what's your brand? And I was like, I don't really know what that means. And so it was explained to me to find 3 things that you want to post about. And so I sat down and I thought, well, my brand is not what I've been posting about, because those are the things that are not passionate to me. So I stood back and thought, what are 3 things that are passionate about to me? So it's fitness, because I'm a fitness instructor and I've been into sports and fitness my entire life. My kids and my family and Plexus, and just kind of healthy overall. So those are kind of my 3 branding things. So once I started, my posts started talking about those things all the time, whether it was posting a fun recipe that I found that my kids liked, or posting an easy, quick workout that I could do because I couldn't go to the gym that day, or whatever it was. I started incorporating those things into my everyday posts, and I started building my branding. And so even if I had friends that weren't moms, but were into fitness, they would start paying attention to my posting. Or if I had friends that had kids and they weren't into fitness or they weren't into gut health, I would post things that would want to grab them in to look at my posts, so they would start seeing all of my posts and wanting to follow me. So, so that's just a little bit about branding. But so on this question, she talks about how she about branding on social media and about posting every day. Yes, you don't want to with branding, if there's so much kind of that goes into it. So a lot of times, like, I'll look around and, like, if we're doing something and I think, oh, that'd be a fun little post. For example, today we went to Target and there was Umbro stuff everywhere. And if you don't know what Umbro is, it used to be like the hot brand for soccer. And I played soccer my entire life, and it was pretty cool to get Umbro. And, like, we wanted Umbro stuff. I mean, everything. Well, I haven't seen Umbro in years, and if I have, it's like the old, the old school stuff. So, like, they must have launched a whole new thing about Umbro again. So I was like, I'm going to take a picture of this. I'm going to send it to my sister, and that would be a super fun post, because then I can pull in my old soccer people and And so I'm kind of just watching around and seeing what can I take pictures of, or what can I think about posting. So then on a day where we've sat around or done nothing, I'm like, what am I going to post about? Then I have those little things that I can go back and scroll through my pictures and think, okay, well, I did that. I can post about that, or whatever it is. So you also have to think about, like, you want to draw people in, so you don't just want to post. I'm not just going to post a picture and say, oh, Target now has Umbro stuff. I'm going to tell a story with it. So I'm going to say, when I was a kid, Umbro was the coolest stuff ever to wear as a soccer player. So I want to draw people in and talk about when I was a kid. And I learned all about that from when Kendra Hall talked about storytelling. And I've really, really worked on storytelling, but I've learned that they're fun to tell. It's fun to, like, think about, like, pull all those thoughts. And, like, I've been thinking about Umbro as a kid all day long, just looking at those, those shorts or whatever. And so I get to tell a story and tell a little bit about me and where I came from. And it will draw people in, and it will talk. I mean, anybody that played soccer as a kid that's my age is going to think about Umbro and think about playing soccer. And so it's like you kind of tell that story. And so does that mean you have to post 3 to 4 to 5 times a day? No, it does not. It just means that when you post, don't just throw up a picture of whatever, don't just throw up a picture of your food and say, oh, look what I had for dinner today, or throw a picture of a bottle of your ProBio and just say, I love this product. I mean, like, you can tell a story with it on top of talking about your product, or why you love it, or what it's done for you that day, or, just things like that. So in comparison, oh my word, throw that out the door, because the moment you start comparing yourself to somebody else, it's not going to be as fun. You're never going to meet up to that expectation that you have for yourself at that point. And Plexus is so much about helping other people. And when you start comparing yourself, that the helping part, like, goes out the door, because all of a sudden it becomes about where you are and what rank you want to go up. And yes, we want to, of course, if you have business goals, you want to rank up, but you always have to go back to, okay, how many people do I get to help with this? And if I can truly say, I know there are certain people that have started way past me, and they're gonna pass me up in the next couple months. And I can truly say I'm so excited for them. Does that make me want to go to that next rank? Heck yeah, it does. But I'm not going to compare myself to them, nor am I going to be jealous of them. So if you struggle with that, block those people that you are struggling with that for, and just take a look at why you started it again, and think of all the people that you've helped because of talking about the products. So I think that truly has helped me. So I hope that helped a little bit about branding.
Yeah, also, no, I think that's awesome. And honestly, y'all, go look at my Facebook page or my Instagram page, Rachel Stew. Instagram is neat because you can do some squares. You can go to someone's profile and see all of their squares together. So it's an easier way to get an idea of someone's brand. Okay, so go to mine. And I have not made a Plexus post in weeks. I'm talking weeks. There's not a picture of my pink drink. There's not a picture of my kids taking their vitamin. It's not there. But I have had new customers and new ambassadors consistently for the past 3 or 4 months because I'm cultivating relationships. I'm using my Facebook page and my Instagram to cultivate relationships, especially Instagram. I'm looking for other mamas to follow and connect with and engage with, because if you look at my brand, it's all about my family and our homeschooling life and our historic home. Like, that's what I'm posting about. That's my brand. So you need to start having consistency with what you are showing your audience. It's social media. You are socially connecting. You're not selling. You're not a billboard for Plexus. You are socially connecting. And what happens is you start getting hundreds of likes on photos and 25 to 30 comments on photos as you share stories and tell stories. So then when you message them because you've noticed they made a post about being tired, that relationship is there because you've been nurturing it and cultivating it through your like interest. So go to Rachel's, go to mine. Abby Kappa is incredible at branding. Her Instagram page is beautiful. All of her pictures look the same. Brooke Light, she's another one. Her husband's an artist. She has 2 boys. Her Instagram is beautiful. All of her pictures look the same. They're very consistent. But just think about the top 3 things you want to share about your life. You know, and is it adoption? Is it being a minister's wife? I mean, Karen, I think you could build incredible relationships on Instagram with a minister wife. So just think about 3 areas that you can connect with other people globally and start creating that image through our channels. It's pretty exciting to see what people are doing with it. And like Rachel Rogers, Bridget Ryan, they all have training videos out there about how they did this successfully on Instagram and built their team of strangers. I mean, they didn't know each other outside of blogs and Instagram. So branding can be very, very strong and very strategic if you take the time to learn how to do it. It takes time, and I'm still not there completely, but to really kind of start switching the way you are posting about yourself in your life.
And also, Tamara, if you go into the Diamonds of the Making and just search branding or hashtag brand, she has some really good, just good things, like good comment. I mean, just great ideas about, you know, package your story. I mean, like all these little things that are really, really good, good ideas, you know, as you're figuring out your brand too, and some good videos. So.
Okay, 3rd question.
Are we back to me?
Is Rachel. Back to Rachel.
Yep. Okay, how do you handle when friends and family don't support what you're doing? Has anybody else had that happen? I still have that happen. I can't talk loud because my parents are in the next room. So when I started, and I mean, it's been almost 4 years. Nobody in my family wanted to do it. My dad wanted to help me because he wanted me to win the iPad. And so he became my customer, and my mom made him pay for it with his Christmas money because she thought it was too expensive. So yes, I totally understand family not supporting you. Honestly, it's a big bummer. And honestly, it's really hard. And I have to say sell, because you can share and share and share with your family. And for me, I'm one of the younger ones, so they don't really take my opinion very highly, I guess. So I have to prove to them that the products are amazing. My husband wouldn't take them at first. He's in the medical field, and it's a supplement. And so he was like, no, we're not doing that. I'm not doing that. You know, he approved enough for me to do it. But so I just build belief. I talk about what it's done for me. I send lots of testimonies. I make it in my conversation. When they have tried it and they haven't been consistent, they truly won't tell me if they have it, and then they'll say, oh, it didn't work. I'm like, oh, really? Tell me about that a little bit. So it's hard, y'all. Family is hard. Me and Catherine have talked about this a lot. Family is hard. But don't get discouraged, because honestly, it's just like people that have seen me post for 4 years, and It's just like me making fun of people for drinking the pink drink because it was called Slim. And I mean, you see that over and over about the diamonds saying that they block people or whatever. It's the same thing. And so you still have to show your passion. You still have to, and honestly, I have tried to be a lot more knowledgeable when it comes to that, especially with my family, because I want to, gain credibility from them too. So number one is don't get discouraged, because I mean, I've seen it happen where it can just bust your bubble, and it's happened to me, especially in the beginning when I didn't know much. It just burst my bubble that my family wouldn't try this to support me, or just was like, I can't believe she's doing this, or wouldn't ask more questions, or whatever it was. But don't give up, because the longer that you do it and the longer that they see, and then you talk about, I cannot believe what my friend has experienced, because of these products, or I can't believe that my little boy, he doesn't get sick as much as he did, or all these things. Just keep talking about them. It becomes in our everyday life. And so it's not awkward after a while, and just keep talking about it. Just keep building their belief, sharing testimonies, asking questions, hey, how's your seasonal allergies going? Well, you know what? We don't have them anymore. You know what I mean? You can say, especially if it's your family, you can say something that, and I've had cousins come back to me and say, Rachel, when we tried it, we weren't really consistent. I have to have something right now. And so I want you to do this. I've had multiple people in my family come back and say, okay, we're ready to do this again. So like I said, don't give up, don't get frustrated, and just keep on powering on. They're the hardest. Friends, for me at least, friends and family, close friends and family, have been the hardest. And they can hurt your feelings the most. And then when they're your customers, they can be super hard too. But if they can be healthy and experience what we have experienced, it is totally worth it. So, Catherine, I know you have some other stuff to say with that too.
Well, and sometimes you have to have those hard, awkward conversations. I mean, if it's your mom or your dad or your sister or someone that is teasing you constantly, or I've even here lately with the flu going on, Chandler, we haven't been sick, knock on wood, but Chandler, my 4-year-old, he threw up just randomly one day last week. One time, no fever, that was it, probably something he ate. But a friend came back and said, I thought y'all never get sick. And I'm like, I've never said that. I don't blast that at all. But sometimes you have to have those hard conversations and say, I know this isn't your thing, and that's okay. But I'm creating this life for myself and my family, and I just want you to respect that. And sometimes that stops it, but you always have to edify them first. You can't say things like, you were so negative, you hurt my feelings, you're being immature. You can't say any of that. You have to edify them and say, I value you and I value your opinion, and I just want you to hear me out on this. And just say, I'm making decisions that are in line with what I value. And we value natural health, and we value preventative care. And those are choices we're making. And I know it's not what you do or what you care about, and that's okay, but this is important to me and my family. So sometimes you have to have those hard conversations. I had another ambassador who, she is doing well in her business. She's staying consistent, and but people have teased her parents have teased her, well, when are you going to get a real job? That's not a real job. And so you also have to remember that this is so non-traditional, that those that have been in the 9-to-5 world with the 401k and the pension and the retirement account and the vacation time, they do not understand that this is a substantial way to make income. And so sometimes you have to be honest and have that conversation too, that, I don't need your permission to do this, and I don't need you to tell me it's okay that I do this, but I just want you to know that I'm creating the life that I desire. And I just want you to respect that. And most of the time, that stops it. But we all have family and close friends. somewhere along the way that don't support it or think it's silly, and sometimes I just want to say, would you like to see my paycheck? I will gladly send you my pay stub. But I don't. But you do have to sometimes explain that it's your thing, and they need to be respectful. Okay, last question, quickly. Let me pull it up. Okay. I've had a couple interested in the business. They have not jumped in. I've even used Lexi to train them. But how do I keep my belief up, my momentum going when this happens? I feel like maybe I need to do more cold messaging, but I feel frozen. So I've been there. We've all been there, where you feel like you're so excited, someone is signing up, and then 2 weeks later they have done nothing. They're not answering their messages. They're not texting back, and it's like, hey, where did you go? Like, I'm here for you, and you are nowhere. And so I have learned that it's all in timing, and I know that is frustrating, and I know that it's sometimes hard to understand that. But I've had a lot that have started with the products with the intention of doing the business, and they decided they didn't like the product, therefore they put that in together. I've had people say they're going to start the business, and they do. We meet and we get them launched, and they message just a few, and they get those no's or those crickets, and they say, I can't do this isn't for me. And I've tried to encourage, I've tried to pull, I've tried to meet, I've tried to, and they're just not there. And so I have found that when that happens, it's best to just maintain consistent conversation or correspondence as a friend. You kind of remove business from it, and you maintain that correspondence as a friend, and think, how can I bring value to them? How can I bring value to them? So it could be anything from, hey, I saw that you and your kids just got back on vacation. It looked incredible. How was your trip? So you just continue to engage with them, normally removing plexus completely. Because most of the time, it comes back up naturally in conversation, most often from their end, as you correspond, without pressuring them or poking them or reminding them about what they said they were going to do. That has been the best way for me personally, because I have definitely had those situations where I've been very direct and said, you know what, you said you were wanting to do this. I have provided the information you desired. Are you going to do this or not? And most of the time, they don't even answer that question. They just ignore it. So I have found it best when they kind of fall off the face of the planet to just continue that relationship and correspondence as a friend, and that you truly are interested in their life and their friendship and their connection, whether they do plexus or not, whether they drink the drink again or not. You want to add value to their life, and in order to do that, you have to remove the awkward elephant from the room. And that's something that has helped me with momentum too, because this is a roller coaster business. We've all heard the quote, whatever ails you, what is it? The cure to what ails you is activity, which is true, because we all know the numbers are not in our favor. If you look at any network marketing, blog, video, not just plexus, but just our industry, Sarah Robbins' book, Eric Voorhees' book, they all talk about the numbers game. And it's 1 in 10 are those that say yes to the product or the opportunity. It's not even saying yes to the business. 1 in 10. So think about that. That's 10 in 100. So every 100 you contact, talk to, connect with, 10% will say, I'm ready to start products, I'm ready to order, or hey, I want to do the business. But then a step forward, Eric Voorhees breaks it down even further, and he said, of those 10, so you talk to 100, 10 sign up. Of those 10, 2 to 3 are going to commit to the business long term. So you're talking a 2 to 3% return for every 100 people you connect with. So if you're wanting to maintain momentum, if you're wanting to maintain people in your funnel, if you're wanting to maintain conversations and connections so your business continues to propel forward, you got to talk about it. You've got to talk about it. You've got to talk about it. And it takes time. I mean, I'm to the point in my business, and I know Rachel is too, that I'm cultivating new relationships. And that takes time. I joined a new moms group this semester. In January, I joined a moms group and I joined a Bucko group. And I'm building my brand on Instagram. Those are the 3 things I am actively doing to build connection and to build authentic connection. And Plexus hasn't come up in any of those areas yet, but it's a part of my life. It's who we are as a family. So I know I know I will receive business from these 3 actions. But I needed additional hundreds of people to talk to, so I'm having to look in other areas to find those. But as you look for areas to connect and you look for people to meet, you always have to remember, how can I edify this person? How can I bring value to their life? Because that attitude and mindset removes the pressure to sell. It removes the pressure to reach an incentive. It removes the pressure and the disappointment of missing out on a new customer. But you have to think about how you can bring value to that person first. And y'all know, I know it's the same for y'all too. Plexus changed everything for my health. It changed everything for our family. And when you start looking at people and asking, maybe Plexus can change their life too. We know it can, but perhaps this is what they have been looking for. So if you can start looking at people in that light, in that manner, it removes the pressure of the sale or the thought of, oh, I hope I'm not bothering them. I don't want to message them. I don't want to bother them. Well, you're not bothering them if you're authentically coming to them to add value to their life. And most of the time, this is where Plexus sells itself. It does, because if you're building authentic connections, if you're showing that you care for people outside of Plexus, that you care about what's going on in their life, that when a need arises, that you can identify Plexus as the answer, whether it's we're living paycheck to paycheck, or I want to quit my job and be home with my kids, or our allergies are horrible this year, or my baby's eczema is terrible. When you come to them at that point and say, you have to try this for your baby, they're gonna say yes, because that relationship and connection and authentic care is there. You have already added value to their life, and so they're gonna trust you and try what you say. And that's where your business becomes a solid foundation too, is because those joining you see the need, and Plexus is the answer. And those that are trying the products desire for you to coach them, and they will stick through the detox and stick through the frustrations because they know that you care about them. So I hope that's helpful with how to get over those that say they want to do it but don't, and how to consistently return to that momentum and belief. Does anybody have anything to add? This is a collaborative space. Okay, 9:40, we'll hop off. But thank you for joining us. I'm excited about these. I think it's going to be a really neat way for us to connect and show support and encouragement on a monthly basis. And I think the questions will change and as we move forward with new experiences. And be prepared. Some of you may be called on to give an answer. But y'all have a great week.
Bye, guys. Thank you.